The New York Giants got devastating news on Tuesday as Paul Schwartz of the New York Post was the first to report that star left tackle Andrew Thomas could be out for the rest of the season with a foot injury. Thomas came out of Sunday night's game against the Cincinnati Bengals limping and saying that his foot, which I believe is the left foot, did not feel great. Had tests done over the last couple of days. Schwartz reported that this injury could be a devastating Frank injury. Thomas, at this point, expected to miss the rest of the 2024 season. Um, if it's a Frank injury, I did some research on that. If it's a Frank injury, those can take as much as a year to heal, and there's a possibility that that there could always be or could be long-term effects from that Thomas could feel, long after a year. So you become concerned if it's a Frank injury, not only for the rest of the season for Thomas, but you become concerned about what kind of player he will be when he does come back, if it is indeed a Frank injury. This is incredibly devastating news for the 2-4 Giants, who come off a 17-7 loss on Sunday Night Football to the Cincinnati Bengals. Yet another game, possibly the third game this season, that the Giants really had an opportunity to win, could have won, just didn't make enough plays in the end to win. Giants faced the Philadelphia Eagles at home on Sunday. Return of Saquon Barkley to MetLife Stadium, and they'll have to reconfigure their offensive line for this game. An offensive line that GM Joe Shane put a lot of resources into this offseason. Obviously, if you watched Hard Knocks, you know that one of the biggest reasons that Shane gave Giants co-owner John Mara for allowing Saquon Barkley to move on and to eventually sign with the Philadelphia Eagles was that the Giants needed resources to pour into an offensive line that was historically bad a year ago, that gave up 85 sacks, that got Daniel Jones injured not once but twice, with a neck injury and then an ACL injury. Um, Giants signed guard John Runyon Jr. and tackle Jermaine Illuminor in the offseason. And that offensive line has played well so far this season. They've protected Daniel Jones well. They've made Jones comfortable. Maybe Sunday night against the Bengals, there was a little bit more pressure on Jones than there had been in some other games. But for the most part, that line has protected Daniel Jones pretty well so far this season. I just want to take a look here real quick and see how many times Jones has actually been sacked so far this season. I know it's far less than he was in previous years. He's only been sacked 14 times so far this year through 6 games. At that pace, you're talking about somewhere in the neighborhood of being sacked 40 times, less than half of the number of times he was sacked a year ago. That offensive line has been giving Daniel Jones a chance so far this season. And no matter what they do to reconfigure this line, Andrew Thomas is the best player on that line. He's a second team All-Pro in 2022. The second straight season now that Thomas will have missed significant time due to leg injuries. And obviously, we're concerned. You have to be concerned about his future and about what kind of player he'll be going forward. But as far as the 2024 Giants and what they do to reconfigure that line. I actually wrote about that, not thinking that Thomas would be out for the season, but thinking that he would miss some time anyway. I actually wrote about this on Tuesday morning. The Giants have two legitimate options. Option one is to leave everybody on the line, meaning John Runyon at left guard, John Michael Schmitz at center, Greg Van Roten at right guard, and Jermaine Illuminor at right tackle, and simply slide Josh Ezeudu in at left tackle. That option I know doesn't appeal to Giants fans, considering that it didn't go well at all for Ezeudu in 2023 when the Giants asked him to replace Thomas after Thomas was injured in week 1, hamstring injury that cost him 7 games last year. Ezeudu really struggled at the left tackle spot, but I've talked to Ezeudu about this, and I've seen practice all spring and all summer. A year ago, Josh Ezeudu competed for a starting guard spot with Ben Bredesen and Mark Glowinski, and eventually didn't win one of the starting guard spots. Ezeudu didn't practice at all in the spring or the summer at tackle. He spent all of his time at guard. And yet when Andrew Thomas was injured, instead of using the swing tackle they had on the roster, Matt Peart, a former 3rd-round draft pick by Dave Gettleman a few years ago, they put Ezeudu at left tackle when Ezeudu hadn't even begun practicing at the tackle spot until regular season practices began. He had no off-season practice at tackle, no training camp practice at tackle, no preseason game work at tackle. So the Giants, and I don't know if that was Brian Daboll's decision or former offensive line coach Bobby Johnson's decision or an organizational decision. I don't know who made that choice, but the Giants set Josh Ezeudu up to fail a year ago. This year, if Ezeudu's asked to play left tackle, I don't know how it'll go. I don't know if he's capable of being an NFL left tackle. The Giants actually drafted him to play guard. Ezeudu played left and right tackle in both guard spots at North Carolina, but the Giants drafted him thinking he would be an interior offensive lineman. But this year, ever since the spring practices began, ever since OTAs began, Ezeudu has practiced almost exclusively at tackle. He's flip-flopped from left to right and taken just a smattering of snaps at guard, but he has primarily been at left tackle, a little bit at right tackle, a little bit inside. But if he has to play left tackle, if they choose to put him in the lineup on Sunday against the Eagles, as I said, I don't know how it'll go. I know that it's a step down from Andrew Thomas. There's no doubt about that. But I would feel better about Ezeudu's preparation for playing the position. I would feel like at least this time around, the Giants have given him a chance to be prepared and to succeed, playing at the position. The other option is not Evan Neal at left tackle. Evan Neal, since he returned to practice during training camp, Evan Neal has played exclusively at right tackle, the position he started at for the Giants the last 2 years. We've asked Brian Daboll and offensive line coach Carmen Brasillo a few times about why Neal hasn't taken some snaps at left tackle, why he hasn't taken some snaps at guard. And they've been vague in their answers. They've basically just said he's practicing at right tackle. He's getting healthier. He's working over there. Carmen Brasillo said he thinks he's a natural tackle more than a guard. But Evan Neal is not going to be the left tackle. I would be stunned if that were the case because he hasn't practiced there. He played there years ago at Alabama, but he has not practiced there as an NFL player. So he has not practiced there in at least 3 years. The option that the Giants have, if they don't want to simply put a Zudu in the lineup, the option that the Giants have, and this is one of the reasons they signed Jermaine Illuminor. The option they have is to move Illuminor from right tackle to left tackle. Illuminor has close to 500 snaps of NFL experience at left tackle, spent some time there in each of the last 2 seasons. Carmen Brasillo was the offensive line coach in Las Vegas, knows Illuminor well, trusts that Illuminor can handle adequately the left tackle job. So the option in this case would be you move Illuminor to the left side, you put Evan Neal in the lineup at right tackle, the position where he's been practicing, where he's been playing, where he's most comfortable, and you go that way. Um, Honestly, that is probably what I expect the Giants to do. I think they'll move Illuminor to the left side, give that side as much stability as they can with Illuminor and John Runyon next to each other, slide Evan Neal in where he's comfortable, see where he is, and if Neal can't handle the job, then maybe you slide a Zudu in at right tackle. But I think that's what the Giants will do. I think Jermaine Illuminor goes to the left side. I think Evan Neal gets the first crack at right tackle, and the Giants will do the best they can. I worry about Daniel Jones in this scenario, to be honest with you. Jones has been more comfortable this year behind this offensive line. Didn't play well Sunday against Cincinnati. We've detailed that a great deal at Big Blue View, and Jones will never be a great quarterback. He can play solidly and efficiently when he's comfortable. And for the most part, the offensive line has made him comfortable this year. But if he's not comfortable, we have seen what happens with Daniel Jones. We have seen what happens when his internal clock gets sped up. We have seen, when he doesn't feel safe in the pocket, when he doesn't feel protected, we have seen him not go through his reads. We've seen him make some panic throws and panic decisions. And obviously, the Giants offense is already struggling. The Giants offense is averaging, I think, 16 points a game, near the bottom of the league. They have 1 touchdown at home in 3 games. So to see this offensive line go backwards at this point, when it's been a bright spot so far for the Giants, would be devastating, and it would be bad for Daniel Jones. But the worst part of all of this is that I feel badly for Andrew Thomas, who's a terrific player, terrific person, one of the best left tackles in football, and we're probably not going to see him again in a Giants uniform until next season. And cross your fingers that the Andrew Thomas that the Giants get back in 2025 is the same big time quality left tackle that the Giants have had for the last 2 or 3 years at the position. Anyway, Giants fans, please stick with Big Blue View for all of your Giants coverage, for our pregame, in-game, post-game coverage of this week's battle with the Saquon Barkley-led Eagles. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to Big Blue View to support the channel here. So thank you as always for listening. Please stay safe out there. Take care of each other, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.